and welcome to Insight TV. I'm your host, Helen Kerrison. I'm the founder of Insight in Business, and I'm a conscious discovery expert. And my passion is sharing how everyone can live the conscious life they truly love when they know how. That's the trick. And on Insight TV, we'll be exploring the ideas, we'll be sharing experiences and insights and coming up with new ones, discovering new things. That's what it's about. Because Insight TV is where we get to look inside in order to see outside, and vice versa. Now, the theme of this first series of broadcasts is It's All in the Mind. And we take a different aspect of that theme in each of the 4 weeks. So today I have an absolutely wonderful guest, and she's going to share with us her experiences of It's All in the Mind, what she's personally gone through. So it's her personal journey. But before I introduce you to her, I'd like to share 3 concepts with you. And they are, the first one, happiness comes from connecting with your inner self. Okay? And the second one is you are responsible for your happiness, and you decide how happy you want to be. Okay? And the third one is there are no limits when you learn how to love your life. So, now to my guest for today's show. It's a great pleasure to have with me tonight the wonderful Wendy Joris. Now, Wendy's a single mum. She's the mother of 2 wonderful boys. And 3 years ago, she took a very brave step to quit her job and start up her own business called Mirrorhorses. Wendy joins us today from Belgium. I can't remember exactly where in Belgium, Wendy, and I probably wouldn't be able to pronounce it anyway, so I'll leave that to you. So a very, very big welcome.
Thank you, Helen. Yeah, I'm from Aarschot, so that's actually pretty near Leuven, so it's not that far from Brussels.
No, true. So you're getting the same weather as we are here anyway.
Exactly the same weather.
Well, yeah. I'll let everybody into a little secret. We're an hour late getting on air tonight because we had some fairly major technical issues. So apologies to anybody who was here waiting for us earlier. We've been racking our collective brains to get it sorted, and here we are. We've made it. So great to be with you tonight. So Wendy, I've been really looking forward to this show with you because I'm just amazed at what you do and how you approach it and the journey that you've been on. And so I'd like to invite you to share, part of that, a little bit of that journey with us tonight. How did it all start? What was the beginning of your experiences?
Oof. The beginning, so far away.
Yeah.
Well, it's been quite a journey, to be honest, and it all started with which is probably for most of us a pretty dramatic event. So I had a very good job. I was a manager of a customer support center. I was managing a great team of people. I was worldwide, European, but also, going to the States a lot. So the dream job. And then a thing happened. It was very unexpected. I started to feel a bit ill a lot. And it was a series of like a little flu and then a cold, but it just kept on going and it didn't get better. And so the doctor decided to take some blood samples, and I'll never forget the moment when she called me saying that she wanted to see me after she got the results. So when the doctor calls you that she doesn't want to discuss something on the phone, that something's wrong, right? So I went there, and then it turned out that something was abnormal, and that there was, she didn't want to tell me what could be wrong because she didn't want to alarm me. Mm-hmm. But, you know, in this day and age, you go to Google, you look up stuff, and then all kind of things came up. And basically there was a chance that with those values in my blood that I would have a disease called the disease of Collar, which is some kind of leukemia. Mm. And so I was completely petrified and you know, panicking, and I even had to go take some how do you call it, bone marrows. Yeah, like sample to check out. So that was pretty painful, and so between that and the results, there were, I think, 2 weeks or something. Those were the longest weeks of my life. So I didn't know whether I had the disease or not, and so all kind of things went through in my mind, and really the most important questions for me back then was like, am I really doing what I'm supposed to be doing? You know, am I living my purpose? Mm-hmm. Am I really loving my life in the sense that I want to do that thing that changes people's lives and my life, and, you know, not just me but also other people, and the answer was clearly no. So when I got the results, and they were positive, so I mean negative but positive for me, so I didn't have it, but there was still a chance because my values were so high, so I have to go back like every year or every 2 years. And so I started to ask myself, what do I want to do? You know, what if it's the end of my life? What would I want to look back to? And the one thing that always stuck with me ever since I was 7 years old was horses, horses, horses. And so I went onto that journey, and I quit my job.
That's amazingly courageous.
Yeah, it is. And it was also very difficult, though, because it looks very romantic, you know. I just give up my job and I start doing whatever I love to do, but it's not really like that in real life. So you have to overcome a lot of obstacles, challenges. It's a very deep, like, journey of self-awareness, and like how, you know, you have to learn to deal with things that are not always easy to deal with. And it's not just business, it's not just money, it's everything. It's like your family life, your deepest fears, especially those. They come up when you least expect it. Your relationships with you know, your romantic relationship with the kids, with your parents, with your family, because everyone has a certain opinion, you know, about people being crazy, starting their own business. So you have to overcome all those kinds of things. And it's, I think it's one of the most rewarding things that you can do in your life, to start your own business. Even if you fail, it's one of the most rewarding things, because you have to really believe in yourself and really become strong to be able to do that and to be able to continue doing that.
That's what I was thinking as you, it's funny, as you were talking about the different relationships that we have, and that will maybe change, and how people will always have their opinion. And it struck to me then, well, the really important thing here is the relationship you have with yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the one that takes you through.
And that's when you start really looking at that relationship with yourself, you know, when those things come up, because it's like, am I really strong enough to do this? Am I really, am I really convinced? Am I following? And I have always, before I started this business, I've always considered myself being a quitter.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since I started this business, I felt the opposite. Even though a lot of people told me I should quit, I kept on going, you know. So,
when it's your purpose, when it's what you're meant to be doing, it'll come and tap you on the shoulder, whatever you're doing, right? So even if you quit, it'll still be there. It'll still come back.
But that's one strength I found in myself, that I'm not a quitter. I'm not someone that just gives up every time something comes up or when there's a bump in the road. And it's one of those things that I realize and that I really strongly believe now, that, like you say, even when you fail, you don't really fail because you keep on, you start something new and you do it another way. And it's a bit like you said in the beginning, it's like finding the way, it's not always the way we think it will be, but there's always a way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also, when you were talking about, you felt that you thought that you were a quitter. I mean, we have so many of these ideas and thoughts and preconceived these misconceptions about ourselves.
Yeah.
Where do those come from? Where did you? Because I know with Wendy and I have worked together and
a lot.
So I've had the absolute pleasure of working with Wendy and seeing her blossom on her business. So, but what's really, really good and important is for everybody to know that this is normal. This is what happens.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say, because, just like you, I've been, and a lot of people that are probably watching, I've been in a lot of spiritual centers, people very, the law of attraction and very positive. And the thing that I did wrong in the beginning is that I was foolishly assuming that, once you got there, everything was good and everything was perfect and there were no obstacles, everything would just flow into your life and would be all wonderful and la la la. But it's not like that, It's different in a sense that the way you look at things, your attitude is different. You're not going through, you're not going through a depression every time something bad happens to you. You look at it differently. You look at it as a challenge, as something, like, this is interesting. How can we deal with that? Like our technical problem just now. And what's so amazing? We had this technical problem, right? It took us, 45 minutes, and then I had to put the kids to bed. And my youngest son came downstairs and both my sons are in love right now. It's like new thing. And he came down and he gave me like this letter that he made for the girl he's in love with. And then a poem he wrote. And I read it and I was like, this is why I wasn't meant to be on the call, like an hour ago, because it was so sweet and it was so, and I went to the bathroom and with them, and he told me, what if she still doesn't like me after I give her this letter? And then I told him, then then it's her loss. Then there's another girl for you that will, that will be lucky to have you. And then I didn't hear from him. And then a minute later he came back and he's like, you know what, Mom? If she still doesn't want me, then I'll keep on trying until she does. And I was like, wow.
How old is your son, Wendy?
He's 8 years old.
Oh, bless.
Yeah.
He's not a quitter either, obviously.
No, obviously not. That's so amazing, when he said that. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And
I just think all the time we can learn so much from our kids.
Yeah.
When we listen, and you're absolutely right. when the technical things were coming up and we weren't able to get connected, I remember saying, we just have to trust that if it's not now, then it'll be at another time, and it's not meant to be now. And you said, yeah, that's absolutely right. And having that having that confirmed.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful. It's wonderful.
And actually, these last week, I've learned so much from my kids. Like the obvious things that I didn't want to see or tried not to see, they just named them, and I was like, oh, they're so right. Why can't I see that? Yeah, it's amazing.
So what is it? What is it that kids can do? They can just see it and say it. And we, as we get older, as we become more worldly wise, if we can call it that.
Yeah.
We lose that ability.
I don't think we lose the ability. I think we are so concerned with the other party we're talking to that we don't speak our truth. And kids don't have that. I mean, some kids have it because of the way they've been raised. Obviously, it depends on how they've been raised. But like with my kids, I always tell them to speak the truth. I only punish them when they don't speak the truth. So, and when they do, even if it's like the worst thing that comes out of their mouth, I actually congratulate them, and I'm never mad when they speak the truth.
No.
And it's a whole different dynamic than, and sometimes I do get remarks from people that say like, this is not polite and they shouldn't be talking like that. But I just, I encourage it.
Yeah, I think that's right, because like you said a few minutes ago, everybody will have their opinion on what you should and shouldn't do, on what your kids shouldn't do, and that's fine, but it is just their opinion.
Yeah, and even those opinions are not always the truth for those people.
No, that's a good point. Because everything we see goes through filters,
Yeah.
It gets distorted. So but by the time we actually express it from ourselves, then it can be very, very far from the truth. Yeah.
And I remember, because I used to be, as a teenager, I used to be very opinionated. And I believed that if you had an opinion, you should stick to it, Even if the other opinion sounds more rational, you should stick to your opinion. And as I grew, I started to realize, it's okay to change opinions. It's more than okay. It's even good to change opinions because, and
it's not a weakness, Weakness, this is sort of considered a weakness if
it is.
you your mind over something.
Yeah.
Because I think it's all linked to this idea that we mustn't fail, we mustn't make mistakes, so that when we decide something, it has to be right first time. And if actually we come back and say, well, actually, I'm not sure that I believe that anymore, I think then that's a sign that you're weak and that you've failed in some way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the strength is kind of linked to that. If you don't change opinion, if you're stubborn, then you're strong. Which to me is the opposite of being strong, because not changing your opinion, always, being stubborn, not giving in, is to me being weak, because it's the easy way.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to open your mind, so it's the easy way.
Yeah.
The hard way is to open your mind and to actually look at yourself and say, okay, is this still right for me, yes or no?
And that's what you did with when you started your business.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So what was the process that you went through? You had this this sort of drastic wake-up call almost, which often happens when there's a big shift to make.
Yeah.
And you recognized it for what it was. And you got involved with the passion that you'd always had, that was horses.
Yeah.
But you hadn't been involved with horses for quite a while then, I think.
Yeah. No, So to make a long story short, when I was 7, I finally, I nagged so much that I could finally get some riding lessons. And by the time I was 12, 13, I was a very good rider, but I really didn't, I know now that I really didn't know scrap about horses. I just knew how to ride. I was a very good rider because, no horse could throw me off. I could stay there, whatever the horse did. Except for that one time when I fell off during a jumping lesson and I broke my arm. And I couldn't get up. I couldn't get back on the horse, and it was broken in a very difficult place, which resulted in a year of, physical therapy before I could ride again. And when I got back to the riding, I was so afraid and so scared, and I didn't expect it, but I was too afraid to ride. And even when I did, and the horses, they're so sensitive, and they felt it, and they either threw me back off or they got scared themselves, and then I got even more nervous. And it was such a fiasco, and I went to different stables, and the advice was always the same: just push through your fear, just push through your fear, and it will be okay. But it wasn't okay, and I kept falling off, and in the end I gave up. I pursued boys rather than horses. No, it was that age, so but by the time I was 19, I was still passionate about horses, and I desperately wanted to find a way to get over that fear, so that I could get that passion back into my life. And back then the internet was still, like dial-up internet, so very slow. But I was one of those kids that wanted to, do that. So I started searching online, and back then it was just one website, and it was in the US. And if you wanted to learn it, you could buy the book, but otherwise you had to go to the US for 5 months and pay I don't know how much money. It was just way too expensive. So I found these holidays on horseback that you could do in France. So in Ardèche, and I went there for 7 days. It was very expensive for me back then, but I saved all my money, and then I just did it. Terrified, 7 days on a horse. What if I'm scared? But I just did it. It was like, I just have to do this, and so I did it. And the first day was the first hours were horrifying, as I expected, especially when the leader just went up a very steep, mountain. It was almost 90 degrees,
And you had to follow.
And I remember clearly, he said, just let go of your reins, grab on to your saddle, and the horses will do the rest. And then the horses went up there, and they slid down one to the other, and it was like, oh my God. Coming from a traditional stables, that's horses can't touch, this is dangerous. But that was all normal, but for me it was just terrifying. And after that it was pretty much just heaven on earth,
So what made the difference there?
Letting go, because because the leader was always saying, he was always picking me up. It was like, let go of your reins, and I would let go just 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters. And it was like, let go of your reins, this is not dressage. Just let go of your reins. And I was just a little bit, and then I kept back on, and I was so tense. The first night I was probably, I was sore all over because I was so tense on the horse. But then after that, I even did a competition with the leader, tried to on an open field and just full gallop. It was really the dream.
That's amazing. And the fact that you said about letting go, and it was actually physically letting go. Physically
and mentally, especially.
And mentally letting go of the fear, and letting go of the need to control. I think that's the
big
key,
thing,
isn't it? Relaxing, the relaxation and everything around it. we can trust ourselves and trust those around us, and in your case, trust your horse.
Which is you, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I teach all my students. I mean, the horse is just reflecting you. He's a mirror. If you're afraid, the horse is afraid. If you're worried, the horse is worried. It just, if you're the leader, or you're supposed to be the leader, the horse will always mirror you. Because that's what he's learned ever since he got born. He got, he was a little foal. He got born. The first thing he does is stand on his feet so that lions wouldn't eat him. And the first thing he does is mirror his mom. She goes left, he goes left. She goes right, he goes right. So it's in his nature. And that teaches us so much. It's incredible.
And so this was an important part of your journey, and connecting with your passion and living your purpose, which you are doing now.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how that developed and the phases that you had to go through, because people watching this, listening to us, will certainly recognize so much in what you're sharing. The stages, they're having to let go, they're having to release, they're having to connect with yourself, have that relationship with yourself. And little by little, step by step, make the journey, which actually just never stops really once you've started.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. No. It's it gets different. You get different stages. But what I had, and I'm not sure if it's maybe my character or if everyone goes through this, but especially in the beginning, I had this fear. And I'm still not quite sure if it's a fear of success or a fear of failure. It's very linked to each other. That I would easily change direction. It's like before I even really got into something, I was like, oh no, I'm gonna do that. And I would do that, and then I would put a lot of effort and energy in that, and I was like, no, I'm gonna do that. And I'm just keep on changing, without ever knowing, like, would it have worked? Because I never really.
Isn't it strange how that's sort of in juxtaposition, if you like, to the fact that you never quit? That you hang on in there and you've got that determination, and it's almost like when you trust yourself, then there's nothing stopping you.
No, it's true.
It's trusting, self-trust, trusting that what you're picking up, the insights you're getting, the feelings you're getting, the emotions you're having, are actually can be trusted. Yeah,
that's true. And it's very. My cat is.
I can hear her. Yeah.
She wants something. What I noticed is that it's all about the energy that you have, and sometimes it's really difficult, especially if you have your own business. You're the only person in your business, and like if you do what I do, like videos and blogs and all those things, everything you put out there is related to your energy at that time. And what I had a lot of difficulties with was because I went through a hard time in my relationship. And the breakup, obviously. But I had to keep on going in my business as well. And I could so clearly see, like I put out a video series, for example, and I started the video series when I was still in the relationship. But by the time the last video came out, it was already like completely, screwed up. And I could so clearly see like the views going down, the reactions going down, and it was the same content that I was going to put out, but it just had such a different energy around it. And that's the one thing that I find difficult. It's like disconnecting both. And maybe it's a bit of a prejudice or whatever, but I have the impression that men are better at this. They can more easily detach their emotions from what they're doing. Even if they're doing it with passion, they can like look at one thing and focus on that one thing and not let that affect. But for women, I have the impression that it's just too linked, too tight to one another. You know, it's like...
You're right, and I think the word that you said there was focus. I think that's the key, you know, really to be able to focus on something 100% for that time that you're doing it, you're choosing to do it, and not be distracted. Yeah. And you know, there's quite a lot of research out there now that showing the differences between sort of the male brain, which controls everything, and the female brain, and how women do have this empathy, they have this compassion, they have this they can deal with a whole load of things at once, and so often
it's a good thing, but it's also
it's a double-edged sword, you know? It can be very, very useful at sometimes, but at other times it can be counterproductive, because when you should be focusing on something, you're thinking of all the other things. And it's also something interesting is that that women harbour more negative thoughts than men.
That's true.
Negative about, you know, who they are, their place in the world, what they're doing, what they should be doing, and so on and so forth. And that certainly, I think, is something that has an impact on the way women show up in the world, express themselves, express their truth, and live their purpose, and ultimately love their life.
Yeah, it's difficult because, you know, you have this, I heard that once that women are web thinkers. So everything is connected to something else, while for men it's like you have the box, the family box, you have the job box, you have that box, and once they get into the box, it's that box and nothing else. But for us, everything is connected. You know, family is connected to business, to job, to kids, to blah, 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 blah. So it's pretty much, well, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult for us to disconnect those things.
And the way that, that's really interesting, you know, because this is really the work that I'm doing, and the work that we've done together is about actually acknowledging that we have all these facets of us, but ultimately we're one person, but that person is inside. We aren't the outside. Who we are is inside, and when we can connect with that one inner self, that inner truth, then all the others are just a part of that. You know, and that's why we can be have all these different activities, and be in different places with different emotions and everything, because actually we're really strong in our core, and we're connected with who we are there, and so everything else just becomes easy. It's when we're disconnected on the inside that it's a real struggle to keep all the plates spinning. Exactly. Like in the circus, keep them all spinning so that they all crash to the ground, you know?
Yeah, it reminds me of it's true, you know. What the thing is that when you get into this journey, and for me, I have to say, you know, for me it doesn't look like it went fast, but if you compare to what most people go through, for me it was on a very short period of time that I went through all this transformation, and I went really head on into it, and I didn't stop, and it was one thing after another, and I kept on growing like a mad woman. And then it's very difficult because you have all these, you know, there are certain webs, things out there that friends, family, things that just don't fit into your thinking anymore. And it's not because they're not good people, it's just they're not there yet.
So what do you do in that circumstance?
Oh, I've had some struggle in those areas. Because what the mistake I used to make is either to just try to teach those people what I've learned in 3 years' time, like in 1 hour, which doesn't work, obviously. And then you get like those, fights and things like that. Or you try to adjust and bring yourself down to their level, which doesn't work either. Because then you're feeling like crap.
You're compromising yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
You're going backwards, I've experienced that, and I'm sure that many people who are watching this have experienced it, and are currently experiencing it.
Yeah.
I've learned that it takes a little bit of practice, but I think for me personally, to let go, to let go of any sort of, judgment. And judgment's a bit of a strong word in this case, because we're not really judging, we're just holding an opinion of it. But to be able to let go of that opinion and just smile and be there, and the smile works amazingly well.
You know what it is for me? It's letting go of the why.
Yeah, interesting.
Because I'm always wondering, why does that person do that? Why does that person say that? Why? It doesn't matter why. And that's been a big one for me. It doesn't matter why. And even if you know the why, you wouldn't even be able to change it. So why would you need to know why?
So that's so true. Yeah. And so you become, in a way, just an observer.
Yeah.
You become an observer of other people, and you observe yourself observing others. And that way you don't get caught up in the energy that is no longer yours, that you don't fit in with anymore, in a way.
Yeah.
So what is the focus, if you like? We'll bring it up to the present time. What is your focus at the moment? We have a few minutes left. And
my focus, like I said, like the last days have actually been a lot on my kids. So as for my business, it's really the focus on helping people who have that same fear that I used to have. And I say I used to have, but actually we all still have them. It's not something that goes away. It's something that shifts. So, and it's pretty difficult to explain that to people, because they see someone who's into horses and seems fearless and, just does the craziest things with horses. But it doesn't mean that those people are never afraid. It's just that they know how to deal with their own fears in a way that's constructive. Like for me as well, you can, if you compare to 5 years ago, I'm very confident with horses. Now you can give me any horse and I will, they can try to bite me or whatever. I'm okay with that, because I know now what to do, not just with the horses, but also with my fears. And that's what I'm trying to teach people. It's that you have different stages, and in the beginning the fear is the biggest, especially if you had an accident. So those are people I really want to help, because I know how it feels and I know how frustrating it is if you want to really do that and you can't. But then there's those stages after it as well. It's not always the big fears. Sometimes it's just small fears, like being afraid that your horse will kick you when you clean out, their feet, or your horse, I don't know, that he will just buck or spook from something. And what I do is twofold. On one hand, I help people to understand the fear and get it, like, how do you call it, like, know how to deal with it and diminish it and even get rid of it in the long run. It's a process. And then on the other hand, it's to get to know the horse better in his being a horse, not in his being a human horse, you know, like a Disney horse, but a real horse, how they act in nature and how they, you know, and how you can communicate with a horse rather than make him do stuff for you, and how you can build like a beautiful relationship. Because if you have that, the fear just magically goes away.
Yeah, and that's a particular the particular emphasis on your brand of horsemanship. It's natural horsemanship, and it's very much that connection with the horse. And of course, for that to be true, and true is a big word, but you need to have that connection with yourself, because those are the two parts that are connecting, your true self and the horse, and that's when it's the most successful, I suppose.
And that's what I really try to focus on, because you have a lot of natural horsemanship teachers and instructors, very good instructors and great methods, but the focus is always like 90% on the horse, even 99% on the horse and the techniques and then how, but they're not really on the human. So the human can learn how to deal with the horse and not be effective just because the inside is not okay. You know, when you ask a horse to back, you know, to go back, and you're afraid of the horse, then the chances are slim to none that the horse will go back. You know, it's all really in you, in your mind, in your energy, in everything that you radiate. So if you're not sure that the horse will go back, it won't go back. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Metaphor for life again.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So in the last few minutes, Wendy, do you have anything specific? We'd like to share anything specific with those who are watching, and how they can contact you. And
yeah, well, I already told you, you know, I wanted to set up a page because my website is in Dutch. It's not translated yet in English, so I wanted to set up an English page, but technical problems there again. So I thought, okay, it's not meant to be. But if you go on the website, you can actually see like a little movie that I made like a long time ago with me and my horse, which is a fun movie. So you can see me play with my horse. And you can always contact me on my email address, which is also on the website. And the Facebook.
What's the address of the website, Wendy?
The website is mirrorhorses.com.
Okay, so mirror, M-I-R-R-O-R,
horses.com, yeah. And so the English pages are coming up. I will take some time, but we're translating piece by piece. Yeah, because we have a lot on there, a lot of information, a lot of blog posts, a lot of videos, a lot of everything. So on my YouTube channels are a lot of videos as well, so for people who are interested. And when you go onto the website, actually, you can follow me through Facebook, through YouTube, Twitter,
so
everything.
all the connections
are there,
on the site.
Yeah.
So the important address to remember is www.mirrorhorses.com.
Exactly, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Wendy, for sharing
you
your personal journey today. It's been fascinating and so courageous and full of learning.
Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
And full of challenges. You know, we all have them, but the way you deal with them and the way you can look at them from that perspective of learning and growth is a real strength.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been an honour for me to know you and work with you, and I'm just in awe every day to see what's going to happen next.
Surprise!
So that's wonderful. So thank you to Wendy.
Welcome.
Right, so what's happening with Insight TV? The next show will be on Tuesday the 9th of April. And this will be the start of the second series. And in the second series, we're going to look at the energetic connection. So my first guest in that series will be Mr. Floyd Carlson, who is a director of Cisco Systems Belgium. Very, very interesting guy. You're going to love what he shares. So that's on Tuesday, 9th of April. And yeah, find out more information on helenkerrisontv.com. So you can find out about the shows that are coming up. You can look at the archive broadcasts as well. And connect with me. Connect with me on helenkerrison.com, on the TV site as well, and through Facebook, LinkedIn, and all the usual social media places, YouTube. My email is helen@helenkerrison.com. So if you have anything, any questions, anything that we've discussed tonight, Wendy and I, that sort of sparked your interest, and you think, oh yeah, you know, that's something I've been going through or struggling with, whatever, then just get in touch. Get in touch. We're open and very ready to connect with you and help you in any way that we can. So that's it for this week. Thank you once again to Wendy and to her cat, who has not been far away for the whole broadcast.
I think she wanted to be on camera, but I didn't let her.
I think so. It's been an absolute joy and a pleasure. So thank you to Wendy. Thanks to everybody out there watching. And I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time on April the 9th for the next broadcast of Insight TV.